If you have an inkling, you want to try it, you're interested, do it. Pick yourself up and do it and see how it feels. And you might find, oh, I didn't like that. I'm sorry I even embarked on the journey. But try.
Patricia Greenberg is changing the way we think about aging. She spent her career proving that getting older isn't about slowing down. It's about stepping into new possibilities. Her latest book, It's Okay to Be Old, challenges the fear and shame so many women feel about aging. And today, she's here to help us rethink what's possible as we age. So if you've ever felt stuck, worried about what's next, or wondered if it's too late to try something new, this conversation is for you. And hey, if you want to hear inspiring stories like Patricia's, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Hi, Patricia. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, Holly. How are you?
I am great. You built your career on poking at how we age. And it's supposed to be a part of our lives, but so many of us, I feel, fight or fear it. And in your book, It's Okay to Be Old, you took a stance. When did you realize that you weren't going to follow the same old script?
Excellent question. And, a lot of times in interviews, people ask me that, and it's always an evolution. It's never, people always say, I woke up one day, and it's usually never that one day. My byline is thoughtful acceptance of your age, and that is the key, is accepting where you are today. I always start out by saying, stop caring what people think. Everybody knows that. You get, what was the saying? The thinner your skin gets, the thicker your skin gets. And I love that. As you get older, you get that thick skin of saying, all right, they don't like what I'm doing. You have a choice. You could crawl into a hole and feel horrible about it, or you can just continue to be you. And I think the evolution of it for me was, I'm a nutritionist and a wellness educator. And over the years, and I was a late bloomer, I got my degree in nutrition and I worked in the industry. I started out as a dietitian. Then I went and got chef's training and went into the restaurant business, and I taught in culinary schools for 25 years, teaching students how to make nutritious food for restaurants and food service. And it was interesting to me because what most people thought was healthy isn't, and still to this day, I find we struggle with that. People say, I eat healthy all the time. I don't know why I can't lose weight or I can't. There's so many factors involved in that. So what I say is the amount of information you're being bombarded with, try to just narrow it down to what works for you. And that's what really was the key for me. I had my daughter at 40, and a lot of the other mothers were in their 20s. And I was teaching classes at her school, and I was trying to encourage the families to eat more nutritiously and feed the kids more nutritious food. And they weren't having it. And I was running marathons, and they're like, you're 40. You shouldn't be doing that anymore. You shouldn't be dressing like that. You shouldn't be. And I think to myself, I remember dreading 40 when I was 20, but when I became 40 and I had a baby and I was doing all the things I was doing, I'm like, this isn't old. But they were trying to put me out to pasture. And I started to see there's a whole world out there of people in their 40s and 50s doing amazing things. So I approached a production company about doing a show on aging. And that never came to fruition, but on my own, I went and got a radio show at Cal State Northridge called The Fitness Gourmet, and it was all issues of wellness through all the cycles of life. And then the next stage in that was I had written 3 books. I'd written cookbooks. That was my area of expertise. And then I wrote a book called Eat Well, Live Well, Age Well, and I spent 18 years researching every single aspect of aging. How does food affect us? How does fitness affect us? How does our psyche affect us? How does stress, grief, all the things? What happens in the family dynamic? How grandparents are treated? How multi-generational families communicate? And, that was disintegrating, as you know. It used to be we lived, if not with our grandparents, next door or downstairs or upstairs from our grandparents. That was the way the world was when I was little. And the changes in that have been very profound. And it always stunned me. You don't like to hear what your grandmother has to say? I think it's amazing. You don't like watching old movies or seeing what people used to do? That's wonderful. And that's just the day-to-day. But when I did the research and the science and I started to learn about how people feel about themselves as they get older, how they're perceived, the ageism was beyond pervasive.
And I think that's such a huge problem. And you started to see that when you were in your early 40s. And I feel that as we age, especially in midlife, women really tend to get lost in the shuffle. What do you think is the biggest misconception about women starting something new as they age? Because you are completely reinventing yourself all the time.
I am. I'm always doing something new. It's funny you say about that. And I talk about the stages. Like when you're 18 to 24, you want to get married and you want to fulfill your dreams. You want everything. You want to get married. You want to have a family. You want to have a career. You want to be close to your family. There's so much that goes with that, right? And then, when you get into your late 20s, you maybe wanted to go back to school or do something different. You feel like I've been in this career for a while. And then you start to feel too old. I don't want to go back to school. I'm already 30. And then in your later 30s, you need job security. So you're less likely to move. You're less likely to disrupt yourself. And that's what that feeling of, I hate to use the word trapped, but I think you know what I mean. People feel like, well, I can't change. I'm already here. And then 48, late 40s, you start to say the world is telling you you're past your prime. And before you know it, you're going to be 60. And that denial and that fear and that anger and the fatigue prevents you from making changes for the better. And the solution to that is, I say, embrace the age you're at. What can I do at this age? What can I do at this age? And accept it. And we talk a lot about the authentic self. I don't like skiing, for example. People say, when I turn 65, I'm going to go ski at, the biggest mountain in the United States. Not my thing, okay? So I do what I do. And just this weekend, I'll tell you, on Sunday, I climbed the stratosphere in Las Vegas. The American Lung Association has a climb to raise money for lung health, and 700 people were there, and it was a race to the top of the strat. And it was 71 floors. And I had a hip replacement a year ago, March, and that was my comeback race. And I couldn't believe it. I ranked last in my age group. I'm 64, and there were people way older than me, firemen, firewomen, flying up the stairs. So I use that as an example because that's not something everybody's going to do, and certainly not maybe take up at a later age. I'm trained. I've been doing it for a while. But it's like when you start to see there's so many things you could be doing at any age, it shifts the focus from what I can't do to what I can do. And also not caring about what people think doesn't always have the meaning. It's like, I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm going to go food shopping in the grocery store in my pajamas. I don't care what anybody thinks. That's not really what we're saying. What I say when I say don't care what anybody thinks is get rid of all the things that people will say, you're 60, you can't do this, you're 50, you're too old for this. It starts to let that out of your psyche and out of your body. And you start to say, now that I'm 50, I'm going to go back to a childhood dream of wanting to be a painter or a singer or a dancer. There's nothing wrong with going to take dance classes. And, people say to me, well, I want to try it and I'm afraid to fail. There's no failing in life. You tried it. It maybe didn't work. The schedule didn't work. The timing didn't work. You physically weren't up to it. That's not failing. You tried. And it was just, you keep making those adjustments. So those are the two words I want to get out of the vocabulary is I failed, I can't, I shouldn't. Those are the things, particularly saying I shouldn't. I'm too old, I'm too embarrassed. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the failing part comes in when you don't try it.
I love that, Holly. That's very profound. It's a bigger failure not to try in the first place. Yes.
Yes. I think a lot of us have well-meaning people in our lives, good friends and family. And sometimes when we come up with these ideas, like you said, like maybe you'd like to go back to painting, or you love to sing, or you wrote poetry when you were younger. People give you that look like, why are you doing that now?
Yeah. Why not?
Why not?
My friend's mantra, she's 84 and she's the funniest person. And I love going out with her because she's 84. She's hysterical. But she says, why not? Why not try it? Exactly. It's like, I wrote 5 books, okay? And this last book I wrote is picking up steam. But the ones in between, one was a really big seller, one wasn't at all. It was a book I wrote with my daughter. And someone had said to me recently, well, all your books didn't do that well, so why are you still writing them? It's like, because it's wonderful. Who cares who reads it? That you could actually get a book out and published is amazing. So we have this thing, if you're not on Oprah, you're not a success. Somebody in the big leagues didn't recognize your work. That doesn't mean anything. It's an incredible accomplishment. And so that's where, if we could turn that back on ourselves and be so proud of our accomplishments and not be dictated by the external forces, and that gets back to not caring what people think. So you don't think I'm a superstar, stellar book writer because I didn't sell 100 million copies? I don't care.
And because I can't quote the percentage, but the people who say that that's one of their life's dreams is to write a book. And the percentage of people that actually complete that dream is so small.
It's about 2% of people who actually
Right?
do.
And that's such a small percentage. You're thinking, oh, at least half of the people do it. No.
People are so afraid, and this is, Holly, such an important part of it because I've always written nonfiction. I never fashioned myself as a writer. I can't even believe I got these books out. I was asked to do the first one, and then I pursued the others. Like, I couldn't believe they were asking me to do it. And this is a great aging story, or age well, or embrace your age story. I was teaching at the culinary school, and I was probably in my mid-30s at the time. And I thought, I want to write a little booklet or pamphlet for my culinary students because these kids go into culinary school, so they may not want to read all these giant textbooks. They want the hands-on. And I said, I want to do like a little pamphlet for $5 just to show the kids what are nutrients, why is it important we have them, and what foods contain them. I mean, something that simple. And so I called an agent, and she said, oh, we don't do that. I'm like, okay, she sloughed me off. What do I know? I didn't think anything of it. And then 3 weeks later, she called me back, and she said, there's a major publishing house looking for an author to do a book on soy foods, and they want the person to have a degree in nutrition and live in California. I'm like, okay. She goes, you want to throw your name in the hat? You're up against a lot of published authors. And I said, okay, long story short, it was Random House, and I got the job. So my first book was with Random House, and I was in my late 30s, I remember, because it was not too long before I got married. And I couldn't believe they chose me. So there's something to be said for not, you hear this, right? You don't know what you're doing, so you just do whatever. And so that was, again, part of that whole kickoff. But what I want to circle back to, Holly, about that is we all sit here and think, oh, I'm 64 and 3 months. And I say, 64, I still do it to myself. 64, how much time do I have left to run all over the country promoting my book and doing all the things I'm doing? And, I went from running to walking, so I still love to go to races in different cities and travel and learn about people. And I think, oh, how much longer do I have to do that? And I have to circle back to say, it doesn't matter. I'm here today doing what I'm doing today. And so that's, that missing piece of not staying in today makes life so much harder. Life is so much more joyous if you just stay where you are today. Not in an irresponsible way, but, to say, okay, this is what I'm doing now, and I'll do as much as I can. I keep saying this has to be fun, right?
Yes.
Life has to be fun. If it's so much stress and you're hating what you're doing, and, try to take a look. Now, there are many of us, myself included, that you have a family to answer to. I have a husband, and I have a daughter, and I have stepchildren. And so I can't just do whatever I want all the time. I have to take into consideration how it affects everybody else in my family. So you have to be very clear about what you're doing for yourself, what you think you're giving up, what you think you're gaining, and say, okay, let me balance that all out. And I've learned that you have to do what's good for everybody, not just for yourself.
True.
And that makes life, truthfully, more joyous. Sharing your life with other people, to me, is the greatest joy. Later in life, you want to have friends and family around you. And if you haven't cultivated those relationships, you won't have them at the end of life. Not having people in your life later in life is a huge detriment. Now, how do we keep that? Again, Holly, it circles back to cultivating interests, getting out and finding the things you love to do. You'll find other people who like that too. I never was big on going to yoga. And as I got older and I had my hip was replaced and all this, I started taking yoga classes, and I never liked them. I never liked the teachers. I didn't like the woo-woo aspects of yoga. I couldn't relax as what you're supposed to do. And then I finally found this place just 2 years ago, not even. And now I'm making friends, and they asked me to speak in May. And, it's a community. And it isn't just the yoga. We talk about all the other aspects of our lives. We're friends. We go out for coffee. And that's what I'm talking about, is finding something you love, whether it's a hobby or an interest or something you've always wanted to do. It's like everything else. How do you learn to do a physical activity? One step at a time. How do you learn to dance? You go and you take a dance class and you learn, and you might trip and fall and you might feel stupid on the dance floor, but eventually you'll get there. And the truth is, or maybe you won't. Just go out and dance like nobody's watching, as they say, right? And if you like to sing and you have a horrible voice, sing in the shower, go to karaoke. Again, I can't emphasize how much this needs to be fun. And, I want to say also, with so much out there, Holly, everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about how not to age. Everyone's talking about what to do to not be old and irrelevant. You are never, ever, ever irrelevant. Every human being is relevant from the day they're born till the day they die. Every single person has something to offer to society. You may not become the president of the United States, but you have something to offer to your community, or something to offer to your family. Or maybe it's just another person that you're blessed with the gift of having to take care of another person. Or you're blessed with the gift of having somebody that's there for you. Or you're blessed with a talent that people come to you and want to learn from you. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful aspect of life, whether or not anybody else is recognizing it. You are giving and you are receiving. And it's, that's what's important. Like, I'm thrilled to be here with you today. This is like I absolutely love to talk about this and love to share. And I feel like I make new friends when I do it. That's the stuff that's important. And stop, smell the roses, do one thing at a time, take it slow.
You talk a lot about aging well in your book, and that it isn't just a movement, it's a mindset. Mm-hmm. And embracing these changes in our life. What's one mindset shift that can help make a big difference in our lives? And maybe it's one that you experience personally.
So that's an excellent question. A mindset shift that I have come to is that you can't be everything and do everything all the time. One of the things that I see people who are aging, and they want the longevity. So they buy into, if you use this toothpaste, this exercise, this pill, this powder, if you do this amount of exercise a day and you don't do this, you'll live longer. Nobody knows the answer to that. I'm not poo-pooing everything in the anti-aging movement. I don't even like calling it that, but we're kind of transitioning from anti-aging to more longevity is the term that's being used now. And really, longevity is you accepting you and you saying, okay, this is what I can do today. And that's been a big mindset shift for me, is that, like, I got to do A, B, and C, and I have to clean the house, and I have to get my work done, and I have to exercise, and I have to eat well, and I have to drink enough water, and then I need to go to bed at this time, and I have to make sure my husband has dinner, and I have to make sure my daughter's okay. No, you don't. I'll tell you from personal experience is that you can go for a walk for 30 minutes, 3 to 4 days a week, and have optimal wellness. You can eat well most days. I'm never an advocate of what I call, I don't know if cheat days are right. I'm never an advocate of going and binging and saying, I walked 3 miles today, so I'm going to go eat a bag of donuts. I don't believe in the food reward. I think if it's your birthday, that to me is the best holiday because it's yours and yours alone. Have the piece of cake, celebrate, enjoy. But you don't need to reward yourself for every little thing that you do. And that sounds counterintuitive. I went for a walk. I'm going to reward myself with an ice cream. I went to the gym today. I'm going to treat myself to a cheeseburger. It's a false claim on your wellness. So what is aging well? Aging well is realizing what you're good at, what you're not good at, what makes you feel good, what makes you not feel good. And if you really pay attention, you stay up too late, too many nights in a row, you're going to feel it and start to say, I might be better off getting a little more sleep. These are tiny little things. I could put together with my eyes closed a program for everybody. But what's the reality of you going to do it? The mind shift and the idea of aging well is be yourself, and realize you don't have to do everything every single day. And that is a disease of youth, right? Is that every
Yeah.
single day we need to go 90 miles an hour every single day. Even if you're tired and you don't feel well, you do it anyway. You don't have to do that anymore. So part of aging well is saying no to the things that are wearing you out and are too hard on you. So let's do it every other day. I want to exercise. I want to eat well. I want to sleep well. How do I manage that? Give yourself a schedule and lighten up on yourself. You still will gain the benefits, I promise. Most important, 100%. I can't say it enough, and I know we've all heard this, but I'm going to give you a detailed account of this, is the community. Why is the community so important for our wellness as we age? I can say to you off the top of my head, it's not good for you to be alone. And we can say all that. Yeah, what if you're older and you fall down or you hurt yourself or you have some trauma or tragedy happen and you have nobody to talk to or help you? There is actual evidence that it is very bad for your body physically to be alone and to be isolated, because we have sort of this unspoken, unseen electromagnetic field that we put off and others put. That's how the world spins. That's physics on Earth. And that having other people around you is actually healthy for your body. If you have people around you and you have a community, you are accountable to them. I go to a knitting group, and I go to 2 book clubs, and they want to know where I am when I don't come. We all start to look out for each other. You may not be best friends, but you have this group together, and you're accountable to them, and they're accountable to you in ways you don't even realize, and it's wonderful. So joining a club, joining a fitness center that has other people your age and taking classes, you will take much better care of yourself if you are held accountable by other people. It's this collective consciousness of everybody looking out for each other's wellness. It's a much bigger picture than just being alone in the house and you can't get up to turn the light on because you don't feel well. Yeah.
You mentioned saying no to things. What's something that you've learned to say no to?
Good question. A lot of things, unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it. I'm learning to say no to things that eat up my energy. So if I have the extra time in the day, and somebody needs something, I have a little bit of a problem with that, of taking care of everybody else before myself. I'm guilty of that. But if I look at my schedule, I used to go, sure, I'll squeeze you in. And then every 5 minutes I was in a different place. Now I say, I'm sorry, I don't have time today, but I can do it next week. So I say no to energy drains. But I try to make up for it where maybe another day or another time if I can reschedule it. I don't like to cut people off, but no to me is when I don't have enough time. How about you? May I ask you what you say no to? I'm curious what other people do.
It's very similar. I think when I was younger, I always felt that in order to feel included or to be a part of something, every invitation or every event that came my way, I had to say, yes, I'll do that. Whether it's in the kids' school or somebody wanted to go out for dinner, and maybe it's just on a night where you're done.
Right,
And
right.
I realized that if you're honest with people and you just say, I really can't do it tonight. I've had a heck of a day. I just want to put my feet up. It's okay. They're not going to not invite you the next time, or they're not going to no longer be your friend. You just have to do that for yourself sometimes. And so saying no has gotten easier.
Yes.
And I also realized that sometimes you get an invitation to do something, you're like, oh, I'm in. You're so excited about it. But if there's that moment of hesitation for me, I know that it's a clear no.
Okay.
And I say it up front, because then I feel I'm not leading anybody on.
That's so healthy. I'm really proud of you, Holly. That's hard to do because I think we all have that. We get invited or asked to do something at a time we say yes, and then it gets closer. You realize you're overcommitted. That's a very important thing is to learn when, to say no right away. Also, no is a complete sentence. Can't say that enough. You never, ever, ever have to apologize for your behavior, for saying no, for saying that doesn't work for me. You have to live life unapologetically. That's one of the keys to happiness is I don't need to apologize. I don't need to explain. I said, no, it doesn't work for me. And I think if we could carry that over as older adults to whether it's a job, whether it's a social invitation, whether it's a family member, I'm sorry, I can't do that. That does not work for me. And you don't have to explain it past that. You really don't. It's you get to live your life the way you want to.
But I think it's fair to all parties involved. If you don't show up 100%, then you shouldn't really probably be there in the first place.
So that's a good point.
I feel that aging often comes with a sense of loss for some of us. It might be the fact that we can't do the things that we did when we were 10, 15 years younger, but there are also new experiences that come along with it. What's one thing that you've gained at this stage in life that you wouldn't trade for anything?
The depth of my friendships, the camaraderie that I have with other people my age is extraordinary. And I'll tell you why this is so profound. When we were younger, we grew up at a time where you didn't tell your friends if you were having problems at home. You didn't tell your friends if you were having problems at school, or you weren't feeling good about yourself, or you were being abused, or you were with a boyfriend that was horrible. Nobody told each other these things. And something I talk about with my childhood friends, we talk about, oh, I didn't know you were going through that, or I didn't know that that was happening. And we can share all that now. So one of the things that I think is so valuable about, what's going on in my life now, embracing aging, is that slowing down, paying more attention to what's going on around you, and letting people in who you can share absolutely every aspect of your life with. That definitely comes with age. That is something that I would never want to go back or trade that the handful of confidants I have, I can tell them anything. It's wonderful.
There's something about having people in your life that know your history.
Yes. That has also been scientifically proven. I think I have a little piece of that in the book, is that the people that you've known the longest will be the best comfort for you later in life. And it doesn't have to be childhood friends. It could be people you met in your 30s or your 40s, like you said earlier, is to cultivate those relationships. I've lived 3,000 miles away from my childhood friends for most of my adult life. I moved away to school. I didn't go back. I've gone back and forth. I travel all the time, but I live in California and I grew up in New York, and it is work to stay friends with people. There's no question about it. But we still have that special camaraderie. And I tell friends, like people say, not everybody comes, I haven't seen them in 40 years, and they'll say, how do you do it? I said, just get on the Zoom or answer the email or come to the next get together, because we don't really have, we have the formal reunions, but we have a lot of little get togethers along the way. And people say, and thanks to social media, you could say, hey, I'm going to be in California next week. Are you available? Because you'd be surprised how quickly you can get back to where you were. Mm-hmm. I can't say that enough. When people say, I was so close to all these people and we lost touch, pick up the phone, try. You never know. You could rekindle it. And you can make friends and you can find love at any age. I see it over and over and over again, that you can start over. Yes, you can start over at any age. It may not be the kind of starting over we think about when we're younger, that you're going to go buy a house and get a new job and have a family. No, you're not going to do that in your 60s, but you can start over and find fabulous relationships, friendships, hobbies, whatever it might be.
That's it. That's perfect. Okay, one more thing. You had talked earlier, and I meant to say something because I'm so curious. What did you do this past weekend?
Oh, I climbed the Stratosphere in Las Vegas at the Strat Hotel. They have the Stratosphere Tower. So I
Yes.
climbed that tower, 71 floors. Yeah.
So what did it feel like when you're gonna do something like that and you're at that starting line? What's going through your head?
It never gets easier because I've done a number of buildings. In fact, in Chicago, they had the Hancock Tower climb the same
Mhm.
weekend. And I have a whole group of friends in their 60s that do this. We're all between 63 and 69. Could you imagine? And we all have that same thing at the starting line. It feels like, how am I going to do this? What if I have a heart attack? I'm in my 60s. I'm not supposed to be doing. I do. We all do it to ourselves. This is the last time I'm ever doing this. I'm never doing this again. And you get there, and the stairwell is beyond your comprehension.
Mhm.
You know, you look up and you say, and you look up at the building and you think, oh my goodness, how am I going to do that? This is a metaphor for our lives. One flight at a time, one step at a time. I'm going to go up this step to the next step to the next step. Also know, no matter how, because I have panic attacks when I do this, and I'm not saying it flippantly. My heart rate goes so high sometimes I have to stop off at the medics and just say, I'm not sick, I'm not ill, but I have to just regroup because it's frightening. It is very frightening. And you have to train. Don't be stupid. Don't wake up in the morning and go do this. You need to research it and know the drill and know how to train and so forth. But I have all those thoughts go through my head exactly what someone who's never done it before will say. What am I crazy? What am I doing this? It's there. The anxiety's there for all of us. So while I'm doing it, I say, okay, get to the next step. I could stop at the landing if I need to. And the sense of accomplishment when you're done and you get that medal and you go, oh my God, I did it. Well, that's my Mount Everest. Okay. Another person's Mount Everest might be a 5K, which is only 3 miles. And it might be very, very hard for somebody to accomplish that. But when you do it, the accomplishment is amazing. So no matter how small or how large, go out, set a goal. I'm going to do, whether it's a physical, emotional, or spiritual quest, make that commitment. This is what I tell people. Baby steps in a sense, but make a goal, take the steps to get there. And if you don't get there, you didn't fail. You tried. You know, that's the thing to keep in mind. But always, always that one nugget that I want to send you away with is if it's you have an inkling, you want to try it, you're interested, do it. Pick yourself up and do it and see how it feels. And you might find, oh, I didn't like that. I'm sorry I even embarked on the journey. But try.
I had such a great time talking with you
Thank
today.
you, Holly. Me too. Me
You
too.
have
Yeah,
so much positive energy,
thank you.
and what do you hit? Where can we find you? And is there something that you're working on right now that you'd love to share?
Yes, yes. I've got a couple things going on. So the book is It's Okay to Be Old, and I've got other books there. My website is easy. It's patriciagreenberg.com or itsokaytobeold.com. And I have an event coming up it'll be on the website. Over the next couple of months, we have one in March that we're scheduling. So I don't want to promise, but it might be in Philly. In April, we have an event in New York. In May, I have an event in Los Angeles. And then in June, I'm being honored by the Arthritis Foundation of Greater New York for my contributions to helping people with arthritis. And so there's all these wonderful events coming up that feature It's Okay to Be Old. Holly, it's so tongue in cheek, it's okay to be old. But really, what it means, it's okay to be wherever you are.
Mhm.
And whether you're a young kid, an older, middle age, or older adult, it's all okay. It's just part of life. So that's my closing remark. But books are available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And like I said, everything is on my website. That's the Grand Central Station for all my stuff. So you can
Perfect.
just go there. Hmm.
Well, I'll be sure to direct people there. And
Thank you.
again, thank you so
Thank you,
much
Holly.
for
Thank you, Holly.
taking the time today.
My pleasure.
Thank you for joining us on Real Wisdom. If you're inspired by stories like this and want to be part of a community that celebrates the wisdom of women, visit joinempart.com and become a part of our conversation. And don't forget to subscribe for even more real wisdom. Until next time, keep embracing your story.